Great. Welcome to the Proven webinar today. My name is Pablo, and I'm the CEO and founder of Proven. Just a couple housekeeping notes. Please type in the chat box if you're having any trouble connecting or if you're having trouble with the audio, and we'll try to help you out. And also, make sure that you stick around, and we'll be sending out materials after the presentation to all attendees. We'll be sending out the deck and then the materials for the presentation. And also, please hold questions all the way until the end, and we'll give everybody a chance to ask their questions, and we will take them as they come. It's my pleasure again to welcome everyone to the webinar, but the real star of the show today is not me. It's Sierra Westland, and she is our customer success specialist. And she's really great, has a lot of experience with creating job posts and helping our customers with crafting their job posts. So welcome, Sierra, and thank you for taking the time to chat today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So the reason we're doing this is because we want to save managers time. We want to make sure that when managers are posting jobs, that they're doing so in the most efficient manner and that they are getting the best possible response, the best bang for their buck. So today with Sierra, we're going to be discussing a few things. One is the common mistakes that we see in job posts, that we see with all the posts that come across the transom here at Proven. And then we're going to discuss how to craft the perfect post. And then we're going to open it up for questions. Does that work for you?
Sounds great, Pablo.
Hey, sounds great. And this should be fairly quick. We want to take between 10-15 minutes to do this. Make sure that we have time for questions. So let's talk a little bit more about the mistakes. Let's start. What is the first common mistake that you see with job posts?
So that's a great question. The most common mistake that I see is that hiring managers are just not specific enough. They feel that a very general post may attract more applicants, but it ends up costing you more time and then more money by interviewing unqualified people. So the best piece of advice I could give you is just say what you want or say what you don't want. Don't worry about saying something that you don't want as far as the type of candidate you're looking for. For example, let's say you don't want anyone with fine dining experience.
Yep.
Feel free to say so.
Got you. Okay, great. So it sounds like being more specific up front can really end up saving you time because you end up attracting exactly who you're looking for and not the folks that you're not, right?
Exactly.
Great. Anything else? What are other mistakes that people make?
So you don't want the post to be too boring or bland. A lot of successful posts are informative, but they have a little personality and they're interesting. It'll also set your post apart from others, but you want to stay true to your company's culture. So for example, we have one title could be host or hostess needed. A way to kind of beef that up a little bit is to say spunky host, hostess needed. Gotcha.
Okay, so I'll try to be more fun with my own job posts in the future. So what about the ways in which hiring managers ask candidates to apply to jobs? Any mistakes that you see there?
Absolutely. A lot of times employers don't tell candidates exactly how to apply. For example, they don't tell them where to submit the resume, whether or not it needs to be a certain format, if there's a link in the body of the description, how to use this link or how to apply to it. So all I can say is just ask for the appropriate contact information and just say exactly what you want from there.
Gotcha.
One other thing I do want to touch upon is open calls.
Okay.
Open calls are very popular for a lot of managers for a lot of reasons.
I've seen a lot of them.
Yeah, and you get to see a lot of candidates at once, but you have to put yourself in the candidate's shoes. A lot of candidates cannot always make that open call. Some of them will feel like they're just another number, so they may not go. So I always suggest putting in, if you're going to have an open call, to put in the body that you want a resume submitted along with someone to show up in person. And that way, let's say there's a rock star candidate who can't show up for that certain date. Yeah. You have the opportunity to reschedule with that candidate.
Got it. Yeah, I can imagine that maybe some of the better candidates may already have another job, may already be employed, and they can't come to the open call. So we certainly don't want to be in a place where we're discouraging the best candidates from having access to the job, right?
Exactly.
That makes sense. Great. Let's talk a little bit about formatting. So I'm sure that you see some interesting choices in formatting. Can we talk a little bit more about errors there?
Yes. So format is huge. You got to remember that a lot of applicants are applying on their smartphones or their tablets or their computer. So you want it to be easily read. Personally, I like bullets. I like to keep it short, and you want basically the candidate to be able to look at it and in 15 to 20 seconds decide if they want to apply to your job.
Got it.
Just like the same way you look at a resume, you want it to be very smooth and quick.
Got it. So you want to basically the same way that you expect candidates to represent themselves clearly and well in their application, you should also strive to do that as a poster, because that will also impress the candidates and attract the best candidates, right?
Exactly.
That makes total sense. Okay, so now you've told us about basically the things not to do. Let's maybe now go and focus on the things to do. What are the things that make up a great post that's going to have the best results?
So the first thing, and probably one of the most important things, is the title. We always like to think of it as a subject of an email. You kind of scan it and you decide if you want to open this email based on what the title says.
Yeah.
So think of your job post like that. There are a lot of job boards out there with a lot of different jobs. You want it to stand out for that candidate. You also want it to be easily searchable.
Yep.
Say what you're looking for, have a little personality, and be clear. So for example, instead of writing just waitress, I would suggest maybe spunky waitress with 2 years experience. That says so much more in that line, and it lets the candidate know exactly what you're looking for without them even having to click into the job.
Got it. No, that makes sense. So tell me more. I imagine the job title is also really, really important in differentiating the post. Can we dig a little bit more into that? And also, because a lot of times when I evaluate, I'd say an email or an article, I really make sure that that's something that I focus on. And then also, can you, after you tell me more about the title, can you also then tell me about the description and how do you grab someone's attention with the description?
Absolutely. So the title, again, you want it to be searchable. So I would kind of avoid saying the word staff or being really vague, and be really specific on the type of position you're looking for. And then secondly, the job description is obviously extremely important. So for the job description, you want to discuss the specifics, that what the candidate needs. I personally like bullets, or to make it bold, clearly underline certain things, like let's say you want them to submit a cover letter. Don't make it hard for the candidate to see that line in there. Put it in bold. You know, be very clear, and don't make it a difficult process.
So maybe even sometimes add a space and make it readable, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, just a lot of spaces.
Yep.
Give the candidate an idea what to expect, whether the uniform requires a tie or if the kitchen closes really late. These are some crucial elements for me personally when I was deciding on where to apply. So just, put all the information in there and plan surprises later.
That makes sense. So those are some great tips about how to describe the job. Now let's talk a little bit more about how do you specify who you're looking for, because sometimes you do see people who are either too vague, who just say server and don't say anything else, or maybe somebody who says, need a cordon bleu trained, classically trained sushi chef who is available to work night and weekends, available to commute for an hour and a half. So how do you kind of straddle those two extremes and figure out what the best balance to strike is?
So those are definitely two extremes. You definitely want to kind of somehow meet in the middle. And I would basically discuss in depth any required skills, like cannot live without these types of skills in there. And then also one thing I would definitely say is if you're willing to train the right person, absolutely say that. A lot of candidates out there may not have the exact skills you're looking for, but they could be very willing to learn.
Yeah.
And you don't want to miss out on that candidate.
Yeah, no, that's great, because a lot of employers we see have different levels, different levels of tolerance for willingness to train, right? And that should come across in the post, because sometimes you can see some great raw talent that you can develop internally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that's great. What about let's just talk about specifics about the additional things. So let's say perks of the job or other information. Let's say that I'm a pirate and I have a parrot. Can I bring my parrot to work?
I don't know if you could bring your pet parrot to work, but it might be up for negotiation. You never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that stuff is really important. Benefits, perks, all that stuff encourages candidates to apply. And that anything that you feel is really important for your company's culture that you wish the candidate to understand and to know about before they apply. So that's always really important. Let's say you work at a casual kind of cafe and you don't want a candidate with super strict fine dining experience. Giving them a little information about your company, maybe even a link, really can help that situation out.
Got it. And I'm sure pictures can also help, right? Putting in a really nice picture. So let's talk about that a little bit more. How does that help you portray who you are?
So the picture is key. Think about it this way. A lot of applicants will actually search for positions that have a picture, and only that way.
Wow.
So for searchability, I would definitely add a picture. Also, it gives you a little bit about kind of the decor. Maybe it's a picture of the dish or the cocktail. You can kind of get an idea of the type of establishment it is just by the picture they choose to represent themselves with.
Yeah, and maybe the flavor also kind of helps you inform how you should show up for the interview and like how formal it is, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that helps. Again, this is all about finding the right fit, because even if you hire somebody that ends up being the wrong fit, that's going to end up costing you more money in your operations, even if they're there for a week or two and you realize it's the wrong fit. So it's much better to have get to the right fit from the beginning.
Absolutely. There's nothing worse than spending all the time training an applicant just to find out a week later that they're the incorrect applicant for you.
No, I totally know what you mean. Great. So now we'll open it up to question and answers. Again, if you have a question, please click the green chat icon in the top center of your screen, and then you can press the send button with the @ symbol and direct the question to the host. We're going to answer the questions in the order that they come in, and again, we will be sending out the documents after the call, so you will be able to, and as well as a recording, so you'll be able to review all the answers and the material that we covered today. But okay, so we have a question here. This is a good one. We see this a lot with sometimes customers that maybe want to have an anonymous job post. So let's say that for some reason, either you don't want anybody to know you're hiring or you're replacing somebody, you want to craft a job post that is anonymous. How do you make that effective given some of the material that we covered today?
I think that's a great question. One thing that I always try and do is, let's say you just put waitress and you want to keep it anonymous, I would kind of put, hiring a waitress for a busy waterfront restaurant. Put a little descriptive details in there, gives them a little idea of what they're applying for without saying your actual name in there.
Yep.
That's what I would suggest.
Gotcha. Okay, that's great. That's great. Some great tips. This is another one another question that just came across here. This is something that we've seen a lot in the history of our company, which is hiring for multiple positions. What are the things that you suggest for when you need to hire for more than one position? Do you suggest just clumping them all into one post or having one post per position?
I feel like clumping up multiple positions in one post can be problematic for a few reasons, especially if you're doing front of house and back of house in the same post. So I usually suggest splitting those two if you want to clump them up together.
Yeah.
At least separated by front of house and back of house.
Yeah.
A lot of that is for the manager. Think of it, you don't want to start going through resumes that aren't even in your department.
Totally.
So that's how I would definitely think of that.
Great.
And kind of play it by ear.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is that you might be penny wise and pound foolish, because then you save money on fewer job posts, but then the amount of time that it takes you to organize all the responses. Let's say you post for all front of house, and you're trying to find the person who was the bartender, and you have a sea of applicants who are all servers and maybe had bartender experience, and it can be tough to. So maybe for organization's sake, it might be easier to do separate ones too.
Absolutely. A lot of that also will lead to back and forth between the applicants.
Yeah.
And during that back and forth, you may lose out on some really good applicants.
Got you. Okay, here's another question. So do you suggest having different job posts for different platforms? I imagine that this means that if you are posting to, let's say, different job boards, do you alter the way that post is?
Absolutely. So depending on the position, we will post to different platforms based on hourly versus salaried positions. Sometimes there's harder to fill positions that will direct to different boards.
Yeah.
But our philosophy here is to cast the widest net and post everywhere. So.
Sure, but I mean, we have seen a lot of times that there's specific boards like Indeed that work better for managerial candidates and.
Correct. So we usually here at Proven will send or suggest a lot of the posts that are managerial, salaried, and sous chef, back of house positions like that. Yep. To Indeed, whereas hourly back of house and front of house positions we usually send to Craigslist.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people see success with, like you said, casting a wide net as well, and that's something that Proven can really help with, is distributing the job post very widely. Great. And we have it looks like we have one last question here. So what happens if you happen to work for a company where the job posts have to be pre-approved? How do you suggest to go about that?
So that's a little harder as far as structuring the post. You do have a pre-approved post for you, but that's something you could always work with your HR manager and discuss if you can even tweak the title, something as small as that, just so it grabs the attention of the candidate. That
makes total sense. Great. Well, I think that concludes our webinar today. That's some really great information. Thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And yeah, high five. Let's get back to work.